can
The
never
diamond
marry
ring
him.
sparkled like a tiny star as it sank deeper and deeper into the murky water of
Can
the
never
park
marry
fountain.
him.
Sarah watched in horror as her boyfriend Jake's face turned white as a ghost. The ring he had saved up for 6 months to buy was now sitting at the bottom of the fountain, mixed with dirty pennies and old gum. "No, no, no," Jake shouted, rolling up his sleeves. He was about to jump into the fountain when Sarah's mother, Linda, grabbed his arm with a grip as tight as a vice. "Don't you dare make more of a scene than you already have," Linda hissed through clenched teeth. Her perfectly painted red nails dug into Jake's arm like tiny claws. "Do you see all these people staring at us?" Sarah felt her heart breaking into a million pieces as she looked around the crowded park. Families with children, elderly couples feeding ducks, and joggers had all stopped to watch their disaster unfold. Some were even taking pictures with their phones. This was supposed to be the happiest moment of her life, but instead, it felt like the worst nightmare she could ever imagine. But how did they get here? How did what should have been a perfect proposal turn into such a terrible mess? To understand that, we need to go back to where it all started 3 weeks earlier, when Jake first told Sarah's mother about his plan. 3 weeks before the fountain disaster, Jake sat in Linda's fancy living room, his hands shaking like leaves in the wind. The room smelled like expensive perfume and the kind of cleaning products that cost more than Jake made in a day. Everything was white and gold, and Jake was afraid to even breathe too hard in case he messed something up. Linda sat across from him in her big leather chair, looking like a queen on her throne. She was wearing a pearl necklace that probably cost more than Jake's car, and her hair was styled so perfectly that it looked like it could survive a hurricane. "So, Jake," Linda said, her voice sweet as honey but with something cold underneath, like ice cream that had been left in the freezer too long. "Sarah tells me you wanted to talk to me about something important." Jake cleared his throat and tried to sound confident, but his voice came out like a squeaky mouse. "Yes, Mrs. Patterson. I want to ask for your daughter's hand in marriage." The silence that followed was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Linda's smile didn't reach her eyes, and Jake could practically see the wheels turning in her head. "Marriage?" she repeated slowly, like the word tasted bad in her mouth. "How interesting." Jake pulled out a small velvet box from his pocket. His hands were shaking so badly he almost dropped it. "I know it's not the biggest diamond in the world, but I've been saving up for 6 months. I work 2 jobs now, and I'm going to night school to become an accountant. I love Sarah more than anything, and I promise I'll take good care of her." Linda leaned forward and took the box from Jake's trembling hands. She opened it and stared at the ring for what felt like forever. The diamond was small but beautiful, catching the light from her expensive chandelier and throwing tiny rainbows on the wall. She said, closing the box with a sharp snap that made Jake jump. "It's cute." The way she said cute made Jake's stomach feel like he had eaten a bowl of worms. It was the same way someone might call a mud pie cute, like it was trying its best but would never be good enough. "Mrs. Patterson," Jake started, but Linda held up her hand to stop him. "Jake, dear," she said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness, "I appreciate that you came to me first. It shows you have some manners, which is more than I can say for most boys these days." Jake felt a tiny spark of hope in his chest. "However," Linda continued, and that spark of hope died faster than a candle in a rainstorm, "I'm not sure you understand what it means to marry into the Patterson family." She stood up and walked over to a big bookshelf filled with fancy books that looked like they had never been read. On the shelves were also pictures of Sarah at different ages: Sarah at her high school graduation, Sarah at fancy parties, Sarah with her arms around Linda, both of them smiling and dressed in expensive clothes. "Sarah is used to a certain lifestyle," Linda said, running her finger along the spine of a book that probably cost more than Jake's rent. "Private schools, nice vacations, quality things. Can you provide that for her?" Jake's mouth felt as dry as the desert. I'm working really hard to build a good life for us. I know I'm not rich now, but nothing, sweetheart," Linda interrupted, turning around with a smile that looked more like a shark showing its teeth. "Love doesn't pay the bills." Love doesn't put food on the table or clothes on your back. Sarah deserves someone who can give her the world, not someone who can barely afford a tiny diamond chip. Each word hit Jake like a punch to the stomach. He had worked so hard, saved every penny, even skipped meals sometimes to save up for that ring. It might not have been the biggest diamond in the jewelry store, but it was bought with more love than all the money in the world could buy. I understand your concerns, Jake said, trying to keep his voice steady even though he felt like crying. But Sarah loves me, and I love her. Isn't that what matters most? Linda laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. It was the kind of laugh that made you feel small and stupid, like when the mean kids at school laughed at your worn-out shoes or your homemade lunch. Oh, you sweet, naive boy, she said, walking back to her chair. Love is a luxury for people who don't have to worry about money. But since you seem determined to go through with this, she sat down and leaned back in her chair, looking like a cat that had just caught a mouse. I'll make you a deal. Jake's heart started beating faster. A deal? I won't stand in your way, Linda said, her eyes glittering like diamonds themselves. But I get to help plan the proposal. Help plan it? Jake repeated, confused. Of course. This is my only daughter we're talking about. I want it to be perfect, memorable, something she'll talk about for the rest of her life. Linda's smile grew wider, and something about it made Jake's skin crawl like bugs were walking on him. I guess that would be okay, Jake said slowly. He had already planned to propose at the little cafe where he and Sarah had their first date, but if involving Linda would make her happy and get her blessing, maybe it was worth it. Wonderful! Linda clapped her hands together like a little girl who had just gotten a new toy. I have so many ideas already. This is going to be absolutely unforgettable. The way she said unforgettable sent a chill down Jake's spine, but he pushed the feeling away. Maybe he was just being paranoid. Maybe Linda really did want to help make the proposal special for Sarah. After all, she was Sarah's mother. She wanted her daughter to be happy, right? There's just one tiny little condition, Linda added, her voice as sweet as poisoned candy. What's that? Jake asked, though something in his gut told him he didn't want to know the answer. Linda's smile became so wide it looked like it might crack her face in half. You have to trust me completely. No questions, no changes to the plan, no backing out. You do exactly what I say when I say it, how I say it. Deal? Jake felt like he was standing at the edge of a cliff, and Linda was asking him to jump without knowing how deep the water was below. Every instinct in his body was screaming at him to say no, to thank her politely and leave, to stick with his original plan. But then he thought about Sarah. Beautiful, kind, wonderful Sarah, who laughed at his jokes and made him feel like the luckiest guy in the world. Sarah, who deserved to have her mother's blessing on her engagement. Sarah, who would be so happy if her mother was involved in this special moment. Deal, Jake said, the word leaving his mouth before he could stop it. Linda's eyes lit up like flames, and she reached across the coffee table to shake Jake's hand. Her grip was firm and cold, like shaking hands with a statue made of ice. Perfect, she purred. Just perfect. This is going to be a proposal that nobody will ever forget. As Jake left Linda's house that day, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had just made a terrible mistake. But it was too late now. He had given his word, and there was no taking it back. Over the next 3 weeks, Linda called Jake almost every day with new details about the proposal. First, she changed the location from the cozy cafe to the big public park in the center of town. More romantic, she had said. All those beautiful trees and flowers. Plus, there will be more people around to witness this special moment. Then she insisted that Jake wear a specific outfit, a fancy suit that cost more money than Jake had ever spent on clothes in his entire life. You can't propose in jeans and a t-shirt, she had scolded him over the phone. This is the most important moment of Sarah's life. You need to look the part. Jake had to work extra hours at both his jobs to afford the suit, but he did it because Linda insisted it was necessary. Next, Linda planned the exact words Jake should say. She made him practice the speech over and over again until he could recite it perfectly, even though the words felt fake and fancy in his mouth. They weren't his words. They were Linda's words, full of big vocabulary that Jake never used and promises that sounded like they came from a fairy tale book instead of his heart. Sarah deserves poetry, not whatever simple words you might stumble through, Linda had said when Jake suggested using his own words instead. The final change Linda made was the most expensive one. She insisted that Jake hire a professional photographer to hide in the bushes and take pictures of the proposal. "These photos will be treasures forever," she had explained. "Sarah will want to show them to her children and grandchildren someday." Jake had to borrow money from his little sister's college fund to pay for the photographer, but Linda assured him it would be worth it. By the time the day of the proposal arrived, Jake felt like he was preparing for someone else's proposal, not his own. Nothing about it felt like him anymore. The fancy clothes made him feel like he was wearing a costume. The scripted words felt fake in his mouth, and the whole elaborate plan made his stomach twist with worry. But he had made a promise, and Jake was not the kind of person who broke promises. The morning of the proposal, Jake stood in front of his bathroom mirror, adjusting his expensive tie for the 100th time. The ring box sat on his sink counter, and every time he looked at it, his heart started racing. This was it. This was the day he was going to ask Sarah to marry him. He should have been excited, but instead, he felt like he was walking toward his own execution. His phone buzzed with a text from Linda. "Remember, exactly as we practiced. Don't you dare mess this up." Jake took a deep breath and tried to calm his nerves. Everything would be fine. Linda was Sarah's mother. She knew what would make Sarah happy better than anyone else, right? But as Jake grabbed the ring box and headed out the door, he couldn't escape the feeling that something was about to go very, very wrong. What terrible plan does Linda have in store for Jake's proposal? And why does Sarah's own mother seem determined to ruin what should be the happiest day of her daughter's life? The answers lie in the dark secrets Linda has been hiding, secrets that are about to explode in the most public and humiliating way possible. The park was more crowded than Jake had ever seen it. Families spread out on colorful blankets, children ran around with balloons, and couples walked hand in hand along the winding paths. It was like the entire town had decided to come to the park on the exact same day Jake planned to propose. Jake's hands were so sweaty that he could barely hold onto the ring box. He kept checking his watch, 2:30 p.m., exactly when Linda had told him to arrive. Sarah would be there any minute, thinking she was just meeting Jake for a casual walk in the park. "Perfect timing," came a voice from behind him. Jake spun around to see Linda walking toward him, but she looked different than usual. Instead of her normal fancy clothes, she was wearing a bright pink jogging outfit and had a baseball cap pulled low over her eyes. She looked like she was trying to disguise herself. "Mrs. Patterson? What are you doing here?" Jake asked, confused. "I couldn't miss my daughter's proposal, could I?" Linda said with that sharp smile of hers. "Don't worry, I'll stay hidden. Sarah won't even know I'm here." Something about the way Linda's eyes sparkled made Jake's stomach feel sick, but before he could ask any questions, he spotted Sarah walking toward them from across the park. Sarah looked beautiful in her favorite blue dress, the one that made her eyes look like sapphires. Her long brown hair bounced as she walked, and she was smiling that smile that made Jake's heart skip beats. For a moment, all of his worries melted away. This was Sarah, the girl he loved more than anything in the world. Nothing else mattered. "There's my girl," Linda whispered, but something in her voice sounded strange, like she was talking about a toy instead of her daughter. "I should go," Jake said, starting to walk toward Sarah, but Linda grabbed his arm. "Not yet," she hissed. "Wait for my signal." "What signal? You never mentioned a signal," Jake said, panic rising in his chest like water filling up a sinking boat. But Linda was already walking away, disappearing into a crowd of people near the fountain. Jake looked around frantically, trying to spot the photographer Linda had hired, but all he could see were regular people enjoying their day at the park. "Jake!" Sarah called out, waving at him from about 50 feet away. "You look so fancy. What's the special occasion?" Jake's heart started pounding like a drum. This was it. There was no turning back now. He walked toward Sarah, trying to remember the speech Linda had made him practice, but his mind felt as blank as a piece of white paper. "Hi, beautiful," he said when he reached her, his voice shaking like a leaf in the wind. "Are you okay?" Sarah asked, reaching out to touch his face. "You look really nervous about something." Before Jake could answer, a loud voice boomed across the park through a megaphone. "Attention, everyone in the park." Jake and Sarah both turned toward the sound. Standing on a bench near the fountain was a man in a security guard uniform, holding a megaphone and pointing directly at them. "We have a very special event happening today," the man continued. "Everyone gather around the fountain to witness a marriage proposal." Jake felt all the blood drain from his face. This wasn't part of the plan. Linda had never mentioned anything about a security guard with a megaphone making announcements. "Oh my gosh," Sarah whispered, her cheeks turning bright red. "Jake, is he talking about us?" People from all over the park started walking toward them. Families with their children, teenagers with their phones out, elderly couples holding hands. It felt like hundreds of people were suddenly surrounding Jake and Sarah in a huge circle. Jake looked around desperately, trying to find Linda in the crowd, but she was nowhere to be seen. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely hold onto the ring box. "Come on, young man," the security guard shouted through the megaphone. "Don't keep the lady waiting." The crowd started clapping and cheering, and some people were already taking pictures and videos with their phones. Sarah looked overwhelmed, her eyes darting around at all the faces staring at them. "Jake, what's happening?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Jake knew he had to do something. All these people were expecting a proposal, and he couldn't just stand there like a statue. He took a deep breath and tried to remember Linda's speech. "Sarah," he began, his voice cracking like ice. "You are the most beautiful, intelligent, and wonderful woman I have ever met." The words felt wrong in his mouth, too fancy and fake, but he kept going because he didn't know what else to do. "Your beauty shines like the brightest star in the sky, and your grace is like that of a princess from a fairy tale." Sarah's eyebrows scrunched together in confusion. These didn't sound like words Jake would ever say. Jake talked about baseball and funny movies, not stars and princesses. "Jake, are you feeling all right?" she asked quietly. But Jake couldn't stop now. The crowd was getting bigger, and everyone was watching him like he was an actor on a stage. He dropped down on one knee and pulled out the ring box, his hands shaking like an earthquake. "Sarah Patterson," he said, opening the box. "Will you marry?" "Wait," came a voice from the crowd. Everyone turned to see where the voice was coming from, and there was Linda, pushing her way through the circle of people. But she wasn't dressed in her jogging outfit anymore. Somehow, she had changed into a fancy black dress and was carrying a microphone of her own. "I'm sorry to interrupt," Linda said, her voice carrying clearly across the park. "But I'm Sarah's mother, and there are some things everyone should know before this proposal continues." Jake felt like the world had stopped spinning. This definitely wasn't part of the plan. Linda was supposed to stay hidden and just watch. What was she doing? "Mom," Sarah said, looking as confused as Jake felt. "What are you doing here?" Linda walked into the center of the circle, her high heels clicking on the pavement like the ticking of a dangerous clock. "I'm here to protect you, sweetheart," Linda said, but her smile looked more like a wolf showing its teeth. "You see, everyone, before my daughter makes the biggest mistake of her life, you should all know who Jake really is." Jake's heart stopped beating. The ring box slipped from his hands and hit the ground with a small thud. "Mom, stop," Sarah said. But Linda wasn't listening. "Jake works 2 minimum wage jobs," Linda announced to the crowd like she was reading the news on television. "He lives in a tiny apartment with 3 roommates. He drives a car that's older than some of you kids in the audience." People in the crowd started murmuring and whispering to each other. Some were taking more pictures, and Jake could see that some of them were live streaming the whole thing on their phones. "That's enough," Sarah shouted, but Linda held up her hand. "I'm not finished, dear," Linda said sweetly. "Everyone also needs to know that Jake borrowed money from his little sister's college fund to pay for that tiny ring. His sister was saving up for nursing school, but now she can't go because Jake spent her money on a diamond chip that's so small you need a magnifying glass to see it. Jake felt like he was going to throw up. How did Linda know about the money? He had never told anyone about that, not even Sarah. You borrowed Emma's college money? Sarah asked, her voice full of hurt and disbelief. Emma was Jake's little sister, and Sarah loved her like her own family. Sarah, I can explain, Jake started. But Linda wasn't done destroying him. And the best part, Linda continued, raising her voice so everyone in the park could hear, is that Jake thought he could marry into the Patterson family and live off our money. He thinks Sarah is his ticket to an easy life. That's not true, Jake shouted, finding his voice at last. I love Sarah. I don't see. Oh, really? Linda reached into her purse and pulled out a piece of paper. Then explain this. She unfolded the paper and held it up for everyone to see. It looked like some kind of document with official writing on it. This is a background check I had done on you, Jake, Linda announced. It shows that you've been researching the Patterson family fortune. You looked up how much our house is worth, how much money my husband makes, even how much Sarah's trust fund is worth. The crowd gasped, and Jake felt like the ground was opening up to swallow him whole. He had looked up some of that information, but not for the reasons Linda was making it sound like. He had wanted to understand Sarah's world better, to make sure he could fit into her life. You're twisting everything, Jake said desperately. Sarah, you know that's not who I am. But when Jake looked at Sarah, her face was pale as snow, and there were tears in her eyes. Is it true about Emma's college money? She asked quietly. Jake's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. He couldn't lie to her, but the truth sounded so much worse when Linda said it out loud in front of all these people. Yes, he whispered, but I was going to pay her back. I'm working extra hours and… You took your sister's future away for this? Sarah's voice was breaking, and each word felt like a knife in Jake's chest. Sarah, please, let me explain everything, Jake begged, reaching out to her. But Sarah stepped backward, away from him. I can't believe this, she said, tears streaming down her face. I thought I knew you, Jake. I thought you were different from all the other guys who just wanted to use me for my family's money. I am different, Jake shouted. I love you, not your money. Then why did you research our finances? Sarah asked. Why did you steal from your own sister? Jake didn't have good answers to those questions, at least not answers that would make sense with hundreds of strangers staring at him and Linda smiling like she had just won the lottery. Because I wanted to be worthy of you, he said finally. I wanted to understand your world so I could be part of it. And I borrowed Emma's money because I wanted to get you a ring that was beautiful enough for someone as amazing as you. For a moment, Sarah's face softened, and Jake thought maybe, just maybe, she could see past all of Linda's lies and manipulation. But then Linda played her final card. There's one more thing, everyone, she said, her voice dripping with fake sadness. Jake has been lying to my daughter about his intentions from the very beginning. Show them the contract, Jake. What contract? Jake asked, genuinely confused. Linda smiled and pulled another piece of paper from her purse. The prenuptial agreement you asked me to help you write up. The one where you made sure you'd get half of Sarah's inheritance if you divorced her after 5 years. Jake stared at the paper in Linda's hands, his mouth hanging open in shock. He had never seen that document before in his life. He had never asked Linda to write up any kind of contract. I never, he started to say, but Linda was already reading from the fake document. According to this contract that Jake brought to me, she announced to the crowd, he planned to marry my daughter, wait exactly 5 years, then divorce her and take half of everything she owns. The crowd erupted in angry voices. Someone yelled, "Gold digger!" And another person shouted, "What a creep!" Jake looked at Sarah, and the expression on her face broke his heart into a million pieces. She looked at him like he was a stranger, like he was some kind of monster she had never seen before. Sarah, I swear on my life, I have never seen that paper before, Jake said desperately. Your mother is lying. She's making all of this up. But Sarah was already backing away from him, shaking her head. "I don't know what to believe anymore," she said through her tears. Jake picked up the ring box from the ground and tried to walk toward her, but several men from the crowd stepped in front of him. "I think you've done enough damage, son," one of them said. "Sarah, please," Jake called out over the crowd. "Don't let her do this to us. She's been planning this from the beginning." But Sarah wasn't listening anymore. She was crying so hard she could barely stand up, and Linda had wrapped her arms around her like she was protecting her from a dangerous animal. "Come on, sweetheart," Linda cooed. "Let's get you away from here." As Linda led Sarah away from the crowd, she looked back at Jake over her shoulder and smiled. It was the most evil smile Jake had ever seen, and in that moment he finally understood the truth. Linda had never intended to help with the proposal. She had planned this whole disaster from the very beginning. She had wanted to humiliate Jake in front of as many people as possible, to make sure that Sarah would never want to see him again. "You planned this," Jake shouted after them. "You set me up." But his voice was lost in the noise of the angry crowd, and Linda just kept walking, leading Sarah away from the only man who had ever truly loved her. Jake stood there in the middle of the park, surrounded by hundreds of strangers who thought he was the worst person in the world, holding a ring that was supposed to represent the beginning of his happily ever after. Instead, it felt like the end of everything. As the crowd slowly dispersed, still talking about the gold digger and his fake proposal, Jake sank down onto a bench and buried his face in his hands. But this wasn't over. Not by a long shot, because Linda had made one crucial mistake in her perfect plan. She had underestimated just how much Jake loved Sarah, and how far he was willing to go to prove it. The ring box sat on the bench beside him, and Jake made a promise to himself and to the small diamond inside. He was going to find a way to show Sarah the truth about her mother, no matter what it took. Even if it meant going to war with Linda Patterson herself. Jake's world has crashed down around him, but Linda's victory might not be as complete as she thinks. What desperate plan will Jake come up with to expose Linda's lies? And what dark secrets about Sarah's mother are about to come to light in the most shocking way possible? Jake sat on that park bench for 3 hours, watching the sun begin to set behind the trees. His fancy suit was wrinkled, his tie was crooked, and his heart felt like it had been run over by a truck. But his mind was working faster than it ever had before. He pulled out his phone and started making calls. The first call was to his little sister Emma. When she answered, Jake could hear the worry in her voice immediately. "Jake, I saw the videos online. Are you okay?" Videos. Of course people had posted videos of his humiliation online. Jake felt sick thinking about it, but he pushed those feelings aside. He had more important things to worry about right now. "Emma, I need you to listen carefully," Jake said. "Do you remember when I borrowed your college money?" "Of course I remember. You said it was for Sarah's engagement ring. Did I ever tell you why I needed to borrow it instead of using my own savings?" There was a pause. "You said you had spent all your savings on something important, but you never told me what." "That's because I was embarrassed," Jake said. "I had spent my savings paying for your car repairs when your engine broke down last month. Remember? You were so worried about how you'd get to your job at the hospital, and I couldn't stand to see you stressed out like that." Emma was quiet for a long moment. "Jake, you gave me your proposal money to fix my car?" "Yeah, and then I borrowed your college money to buy the ring, but I was working extra shifts to pay you back before you needed it for next semester. I didn't want you to feel bad about taking my proposal money, so I never told you." "Oh, Jake." Emma's voice was soft and full of love. "You're such an idiot, but you're the best brother in the world." "Emma, I need your help proving that to Sarah." The next call Jake made was to his friend Marcus, who worked at the phone company. Marcus owed Jake a favor from when Jake had helped him move apartments, and now Jake was ready to collect on that favor. "Marcus, I need you to help me trace some phone calls," Jake said. "Dude, I can't do anything illegal." "Not illegal, just public records. I need to know who Linda Patterson has been talking to for the past 3 weeks." The third call was the most important one. Jake called Sarah's father, Robert Patterson. Robert was nothing like his wife Linda. Where Linda was cold and calculating, Robert was warm and kind. He had always liked Jake and treated him like family, not like an enemy trying to steal his daughter. "Jake, my boy," Robert said when he answered. "I heard there was some trouble at the park today. Linda told me her side of the story, but I'd like to hear yours." Jake told Robert everything, the real truth about the borrowed money, about Linda's manipulation, about the fake contract, and about how Linda had orchestrated the entire disaster. "That doesn't sound like something Linda would do," Robert said, but his voice didn't sound completely convinced. "Mr. Patterson, has Linda been acting strange lately? Making a lot of phone calls? Being secretive about anything?" There was a long pause. "Actually, yes. She's been very secretive for the past few weeks. Always whispering on the phone, hiding papers when I walk into the room. I thought maybe she was planning a surprise party or something. Can you help me prove the truth to Sarah?" Jake asked. "I'll see what I can do, son." Jake's final call was to the photographer Linda had insisted he hire. When the man answered, Jake could tell he was nervous. "Listen, kid," the photographer said. "I got paid to take pictures, not to get involved in family drama." "What exactly did Mrs. Patterson pay you to do?" Jake asked. "She paid me to hide in the bushes and take pictures, just like she told you. But she also paid me extra to make sure I got good shots of you looking embarrassed and humiliated." Jake's blood ran cold. "She knew the proposal was going to go badly? She told me exactly when to start taking pictures. Right when some security guard was going to make an announcement. She said you'd look shocked and scared, and she wanted those expressions captured perfectly. Are you willing to tell Sarah that?" The photographer sighed. "Look, I feel bad about the whole thing. The lady seemed crazy, but she paid me a lot of money. If it helps fix things with your girlfriend, yeah, I'll tell her the truth." Jake hung up the phone and looked at the ring box still sitting beside him on the bench. The little diamond caught the last rays of sunlight and sparkled like hope itself. He had a plan now. It was risky, and it might not work, but it was the only chance he had to win Sarah back and expose Linda's lies. Jake stood up, straightened his tie, and walked toward the Patterson family house. When Jake arrived at the Patterson mansion, all the lights were on, and he could see shadows moving behind the fancy curtains. He took a deep breath and rang the doorbell. Linda answered the door, and when she saw Jake standing there, her face twisted into an ugly sneer. "What are you doing here?" she hissed. "Haven't you caused enough trouble for my family?" "I'm here to talk to Sarah," Jake said calmly. "Absolutely not. Sarah never wants to see you again, and I don't blame her." "Then I'll talk to Mr. Patterson." Linda's eyes flashed with anger. "Robert isn't here. He's at his office, working late like he always does." But even as Linda said those words, Jake could see Robert's car in the driveway behind her. Linda was lying again, just like she had lied about everything else. "Linda, who's at the door?" came Robert's voice from inside the house. Linda's face went pale. "Nobody, dear. Just a salesman." "Actually, Mr. Patterson, it's Jake," Jake called out loudly. "I'd like to talk to you and Sarah, if that's okay." "Jake!" Robert appeared behind Linda, pushing her aside gently. "Of course, come in, son." Linda looked like she wanted to slam the door in Jake's face, but she couldn't do it with her husband watching. Jake walked into the fancy living room where this whole nightmare had started 3 weeks ago. Sarah was sitting on the couch, her eyes red and puffy from crying. When she saw Jake, she looked away immediately. "Sarah," Jake said softly, "I know you don't want to see me right now, but I need 5 minutes to tell you the truth about what happened today." "I think we've heard enough of your lies," Linda said, moving to stand protectively in front of Sarah. "Actually," Robert said, his voice firm, "I'd like to hear what Jake has to say." Linda shot her husband a look that could have melted steel, but Robert ignored her. Jake walked to the center of the room, just like he had 3 weeks ago when he asked for Sarah's hand in marriage. But this time he wasn't nervous. This time he was fighting for the woman he loved. "The first thing you need to know," Jake said, looking directly at Sarah, "is that I never wrote any prenuptial agreement. I never even knew what a prenuptial agreement was until your mother mentioned it today. Of course you'd deny it, Linda scoffed. The second thing, Jake continued, is that your mother has been planning to ruin our proposal from the very beginning. She never wanted to help me. She wanted to destroy me. Jake pulled out his phone and showed them a screenshot Marcus had sent him. These are the phone records for your mother's cell phone for the past 3 weeks, Jake said. She called the park security office 17 times, a document forging service 12 times, and 3 different private investigators. Robert took the phone and looked at the records, his face growing more serious with each line he read. Linda, Robert said slowly, what is this about? Linda's face was turning red, but she still tried to look innocent. I don't know what he's talking about. Those records could be fake. The security guard with the megaphone, Jake continued, was hired by your mother to make that announcement. She paid him to turn my proposal into a public spectacle. That's ridiculous, Linda said, but her voice was getting higher and more panicked. Jake pulled up another number on his phone and hit call. After 2 rings, a man's voice answered. Hello. This is Officer Martinez with Park Security. Officer Martinez, Jake said, putting the phone on speaker so everyone could hear. This is Jake Thompson. I'm here with the Patterson family. Can you please tell them who hired you to make the announcement during my proposal today? Oh, sure. Mrs. Linda Patterson called me 3 weeks ago. She said she wanted to surprise her daughter with a big public proposal and asked me to gather a crowd and make it really dramatic. She paid me $200 to do it. The room went completely silent except for the sound of Linda's heavy breathing. Is there anything else you can tell us about your conversation with Mrs. Patterson? Jake asked. Yeah, she was real specific about how she wanted me to do it. She said the goal was to make the boyfriend look as uncomfortable and embarrassed as possible. She said it would be funny to watch him squirm. Jake hung up the phone and looked at Linda, whose face had gone from red to white as a sheet. Anything you'd like to say, Mrs. Patterson? But Linda wasn't done fighting yet. Fine, she exploded. Maybe I did arrange for a little extra attention during your proposal. But everything else I said was true. You did research our family's finances, and you did take money from your sister. You're right, Jake said calmly. I did both of those things, but not for the reasons you told everyone. Jake turned to Sarah, who was staring at him with confusion and hurt in her eyes. Sarah, do you remember when Emma's car broke down last month? Sarah nodded. She was so upset because she couldn't get to work. I used all of my proposal savings to fix her car because I couldn't stand to see her cry. That's why I had to borrow her college money for your ring, because I had already spent my engagement money helping my little sister. Sarah's eyes began to fill with tears again, but this time they looked like different kinds of tears. And yes, I researched your family's financial situation, Jake continued, but not because I wanted your money. I was terrified that I wasn't good enough for you. I wanted to understand what kind of life you were used to so I could try to give you something similar. Jake reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a thick folder. This folder contains my plan for our future together, he said, opening it up. I've been working on it for 6 months. There are applications to 3 different colleges where I can finish my accounting degree. There are job listings for companies where I could work while going to school. There's a budget showing how we could live on my income without touching a penny of your family's money. He handed the folder to Sarah, who opened it with shaking hands. Inside were pages and pages of Jake's handwriting college applications, scholarship forms, job applications, budgets, and plans. At the top of the first page, written in Jake's messy handwriting, were the words, "How to build a life worthy of Sarah Patterson." I never wanted to live off your family's money, Jake said. I wanted to prove that I could take care of you all by myself. That's why I researched your finances, not to figure out how to steal them, but to figure out how to match them. Sarah was crying again, but now she was smiling too. The prenuptial agreement your mother showed everyone was completely fake, Jake said. But I can prove that too. Jake dialed another number on his phone. Hello? Peterson Document Services. Came a woman's voice. Hi, this is Jake Thompson. I'm calling about a fake prenuptial agreement that was created using your services. Can you please tell the Patterson family who ordered that document? I'm sorry, but our customer information is confidential. Ma'am, Robert interrupted, stepping closer to the phone. This is Robert Patterson. If my wife ordered a fake legal document using my name or my family's name, I need to know about it immediately. There was a pause. Oh, Mr. Patterson. Yes, your wife called us 3 weeks ago. She said she needed a fake prenuptial agreement as a prop for a play she was directing at her community theater. She was very specific about the details she wanted included. Linda looked like she was about to faint. She said it was for a play? Robert asked, his voice dangerous and low. Yes, sir. She even laughed about how realistic it looked. She said the audience would never know it wasn't real. Jake hung up the phone and looked around the room. Robert looked furious, Sarah looked shocked, and Linda looked like a cornered animal. Linda, Robert said, his voice shaking with anger. What have you done? I was protecting our daughter. Linda screamed. This boy isn't good enough for her. He's poor, he's got no future, and he would have dragged Sarah down with him. That wasn't your choice to make. Sarah stood up from the couch, her eyes blazing with anger. How could you do this to me? How could you humiliate the man I love in front of hundreds of people? I did it because I love you, Linda said desperately. No, Sarah said, walking toward Jake. You did it because you're selfish and controlling and you can't stand the idea that I might be happy with someone you didn't choose. Jake, I am so sorry, she whispered. I should have known you would never do the things she accused you of. I should have trusted you. It's okay, Jake said, squeezing her hands. Your mother is very convincing when she wants to be. It's not okay, Sarah said firmly. I let her poison my mind against you. I believed her lies instead of believing in the man I love. Jake reached into his pocket and pulled out the ring box. It was a little dirty from being dropped on the ground, but the diamond inside still sparkled like a star. Sarah Patterson, Jake said, dropping down on one knee right there in her living room. I don't have a fancy speech prepared, because the last fancy speech didn't work out so well. Sarah laughed through her tears. What I do have, Jake continued, is a heart that belongs completely to you, and a promise that I will spend the rest of my life trying to be the man you deserve. Jake opened the ring box, and the little diamond caught the light from Linda's expensive chandelier. I can't promise you a mansion or expensive cars or fancy vacations, but I can promise you that every single day, you will be the most important thing in my world. I can promise you that I will work harder than any man has ever worked to build a life we can be proud of together. Jake took a deep breath. Sarah, will you marry me? Sarah looked down at Jake, then over at her mother, who was still standing in the corner looking defeated and angry. Yes, Sarah said, loud enough for everyone in the room to hear. Yes, Jake Thompson, I will marry you. Jake slipped the ring onto Sarah's finger, and she pulled him up into the biggest hug of his life. I love you, she whispered in his ear. I love you too, Jake whispered back. Behind them, Robert started clapping, and even though Linda looked like she had just eaten a lemon, she couldn't say anything else to stop what was happening. Welcome to the family, son, Robert said, shaking Jake's hand. Officially this time. Jake looked around the fancy living room where his nightmare had begun 3 weeks ago. Now it was ending exactly where it had started, but this time with the truth instead of lies, with love instead of manipulation, and with a future full of possibilities instead of a heart full of doubts. As Sarah admired her ring and Jake held her close, Linda quietly slipped out of the room. Her plan had failed completely, and now everyone knew exactly who she really was. But Jake didn't care about Linda anymore. He had won something much more important than revenge against Sarah's mother. He had won the heart of the woman he loved, and he had proven that sometimes love really is stronger than money, stronger than manipulation, and stronger than the worst plans of the worst people. The little diamond on Sarah's finger wasn't the biggest or the most expensive ring in the world, but it was bought with more love and sacrifice than all the fancy jewelry in Linda's collection. And that made it perfect. Jake's love for Sarah proved stronger than Linda's schemes, And truth conquered lies in the most dramatic way possible. Sometimes the best proposals happen not in perfect moments, but in moments when love has to fight for its chance to shine. And when love wins that fight, it becomes even more beautiful than anyone could have ever planned.